What's going on, guys? Today's video I'm going to be talking to you about credit cards and what makes up your credit score. Now, this is a really important video. I recommend you stick with it, as well as pick up the book Credit Secrets. By the way, you can find some of this information online or on YouTube, but I'm going to explain to you what makes up your score right now. So let's first start with payment history. What is payment history? Payment history is you making your payments on time and you at least hitting the minimum of what you should, as well as, hey, if you miss a payment, that'll also affect your score badly. And how much? 35%. Your payment history makes up 35% of your score. Now, on to number 2, utilization. What is utilization? Utilization is, for example, say you have a credit card with $1,000 on it. The recommended utilization to keep on a balance on that card is 10 to 30%. Now, your utilization would be, hey, for instance, I have $700 on my credit card of a $1,000 limit, and you have $300 on your credit card with a $1,000 limit. Pretty much you would do 300 divided by 1,000, 30%. That's what you have. And mine would be 700 divided by 1,000, 70%. Credit card utilization affects 30% of your score. Two big areas you cannot miss out on when it comes to your credit card. These should be the most, two areas should be the most that you focus on, and then everything else should be kind of your bread and butter. Now, number 3, credit history. What does this mean? It sounds similar to payment history, but credit history would be your length of time having credit. How long have you been keeping a credit card without opening up a new one, because they do take the average amount of credit cards you have, and then they divide the time that you've had them, and that will sometimes reflect your credit history. In most cases, you can also look at, hey, I've had this card the longest, and it's maybe like 2 years or 5 years or something. And this affects 15% of your score. So all these combined, these three alone, these three alone affect 35, 65, 80% of your score. So if you want to do good on a test or pass a class, at least get 70%. At least focus on these 3 areas and do really good in these 3 areas. And then these 2 areas, I wouldn't really stress too much, but it's always great to know why your score is affected the way it is. Don't take my advice, do what pretty much you want, learn from however you want, but there's reasons to why certain people focus on these areas primarily and then these areas less. Now, credit mix. Credit mix is basically the amount of credit cards you have with different companies. Maybe you have a credit card with your bank from a mortgage, maybe you have a credit card with CarMax, and pretty much you got a loan on a car, and you have credit cards on all these different credit unions and secured cards and all these other cards. That affects 10% of your score. So banks really like to see that you're responsible and you have credit with a lot of different things. You also put your rent maybe on credit. I know they bump up your credit score nowadays by associating your rent with your credit. Now, next and last but not least, credit pulls. Last 10% obviously goes to credit pulls. This is basically any soft inquiries, hard inquiries, you opening up new credit lines, rejections, you asking for credit limit increases, anyone pulling your score or pulling your credit, that will affect 10% of your score. And pretty much this is the whole breakdown of how your credit score is calculated. Some bureaus favor these percentages differently, but this is kind of the general number people like to stick with. So many other resources have said this, as well as that book. So I would just use this as a standard, but your 3 bureaus kind of go off of this primarily. So good luck with your credit cards. If you have any other questions, go ahead and DM me. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.